In this episode of the podcast, I want to talk a bit about how coaching has changed my life and the different stages and phases of my personal development journey. And I want to talk about this, one, because I love talking about coaching. Two, because I've just opened up more coaching spots and I'll speak more to that throughout the episode. But I am really loving being back more in the business coaching mindset, mentorship kind of space. I've been doing it behind the scenes for years, but I've brought back some more spots and have more capacity to take on new clients. And three, because I know there's going to be so many other just random tangents that come through as I'm talking about coaching. So there's going to be so much juice around personal development and embodiment and somatic work and mindset and emotional health and energetics and all of the things in this episode by me simply talking about how coaching changed my life. So let's just see where this episode takes us. I haven't planned it out. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with it, but I'm just trusting the flow. And actually, something I really want to say about that is when I started this podcast back in 2020, if you told me I would just switch on my Zoom, have my microphone out and be recording myself recording a podcast without any plan or without knowing what I was going to say, I would have freaked the F out because I was so unsure of myself and who I was, and I would have to read off a script. I'm thinking back even to that first episode I did about my career as a nutritionist. I think that's what it was called. It was literally the first episode of the podcast, I believe. And I'm pretty sure I wrote all of that out and I just read a script because I was so nervous to just jump on camera and speak. And obviously practice has been a huge part of that and getting more comfortable speaking on a podcast, or now it's on YouTube too. So being recorded in two mediums, both visually and audioly. I don't think that's a word, but we're rolling with it. And yeah, practice has been a big part of getting me to where I am, but so has my personal development journey. So has a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about today based on what comes out. I can't guarantee that because I don't know what's going to come. But already, can you see how as a person, I have grown so much through my own personal development, through being coached, through going through various coaching containers, doing online programs. I've done so many things. And I might actually start the episode there talking a little bit about my journey in personal development, which I reckon I've been in the personal development world for at least 12 years. If I had to guess, that's what I'm going to say. It's at least been since 1920-ish. And I think I'm going to release this on next Monday, which is the 24th of July, which is actually my birthday. So happy birthday me to those of you listening. It's currently the 19th, so it's not officially my birthday yet, but as a Leo, I do love to celebrate a whole birthday month. So I'm just going to claim it. So happy birthday me, and happy birthday you in advance or in delay, because this is going to be a juicy episode. So you're welcome. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Where am I going with this? So yeah, I was trying to work out how long I'd been on my personal development journey. So at least 12 years. I reckon I got into it when I was 19, 20-ish, and yeah, turning 31. So that here we have it, 11, 12-ish years of PD and of mindset work and all different avenues. I've gone down more of the esoteric, spiritual, energetic path. I've gone down more of the mindset, subconscious mind, learning about consciousness, psychology kind of stuff, and really learning about how our mind ticks. So yeah, let's talk about some of the different containers I've done over time. And one thing I really will speak to later is the difference in benefits in different types of containers. So for example, being in a container where I've learned knowledge is awesome. I love knowledge, I really do. But embodying that knowledge, whether that's in a container that really supports with the embodiment element of that and helping you implement it and integrate it into your life rather than just teaching you something. For example, just reading a book, but not actually acting on any of that. That's awesome. We can use those tools. We can teach those tools. We can implement them ourselves. And many books these days do have activities to help you implement them. But if we're not actually doing anything with that knowledge, is it actually serving us? We're just kind of adding to the knowledge we have, which which is one of the traps that I have found myself falling into in the past, just wanting more knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge. I need to know more, because the more you know, the more you realize you don't know, right? And then like the imposter syndrome's there and you're like, oh, I've got to learn more. I've got to learn this to be able to help people. It's actually not the case. You've just got to be embodying certain elements of any type of knowledge that you can then impart on others and support them with. And anything that we've kind of been through ourselves, like this is why your mess is your message. And I don't know who originally said that particular phrase, but that's why we can turn our mess into our message, because when we've gone through something and we've got through it and we know how to get through it and how to navigate that, we can support other people with that. So you actually, yes, knowledge is awesome. Yes, 100% think qualifications are awesome. But so often we've also had to go through our own journey. Like I've been through my own food and nutrition journey, right? So it's not like I just have all this knowledge and I've never actually put it into practice. I've completely transformed my diet from what it was before I knew anything about nutrition, and I was just eating a standard diet. And now I'm eating so much healthier, so much beautiful, abundant, organic, like really, really nice diet majority of the time. But I also have healed my relationship with food, which is a huge thing I now help other people with, because there were times where I was eating healthy, but then I was so restrictive, or eating healthy out of fear, or more of like that orthorexic kind of like obsessively healthy angle, rather than eating healthy because I wanted to fuel my body, but also being okay with eating the things that weren't necessarily the healthiest, quote unquote, options. So they're like part of my journey and my mess. And now I turn that into my message. And that's one of the beautiful things about lived experience, and pairing that with knowledge or qualifications is amazing. It's going to take it to the next level. Like I'm all for nutritionists out there being qualified and having those qualifications and that knowledge to back what we've got to say. But we also generally get there because we have been on our own journey. Like so many of us, like how many episodes of Nutrition Grad Guide has there been an intro where someone's like, I had this going on, so I turned to food and completely changed my health with food. And therefore I wanted to become a nutritionist and help other people, which I love. We've all had that kind of journey. We're all kind of embodying or we're walking that talk in some way or another. So where I'm going with that is knowledge is awesome, but that embodiment and that implementation of that knowledge and really understanding it and getting it at a different level, not just consciously being like, yeah, cool, this is like blah, blah, blah. I can spit out all the nutrition facts, but it's like, do we really comprehend it? Do we really embody it? And that's where it can really help us serve people even better. So where was I going with that? I've already started with the tangents. I love it. So essentially I was saying I've done all sorts of different personal development, some of it more knowledge-based and more just learning, others more experiential and more of like whether it's the somatic healing or the energy healing. Like I did my Reiki courses way back. So I did like level 1, level 2, level 3A of my Reiki. So that was kind of my introduction more into the energetics and energetic healing. I've done things like subconscious rewiring tools, like Psych K is one of my favorites. That's essentially just a really quick way to work with your subconscious mind and communicate to your subconscious mind, because you're using muscle testing to see what we actually believe or see where we're actually holding stress or trauma around different situations and be able to transmute that within a matter of minutes. It's just mind-blowing. And that belief work has been huge. I'm trying to think, was I talking about how this is tied into who I am as a person? I'm going to go into that later. But essentially, all of this has helped me get here today and be able to just riff and be okay with just going on tangents and not having a plan and trusting what comes out, because I'm not trying to hide parts of myself, right? When I first got into more of that online space and was like speaking to camera, and there's still times where I can notice this come up, where if I'll stop recording something and start again, it's usually because I'm judging myself, right? So the more I've gone on this journey of personal development, and particularly this journey of self-love, the more I've been able to love all parts of me, even in my messiness, even in my fumbling over wordsness, even in making up words, even in all of those ways and all of those different parts of me, rather than having to hide parts of me or feel like I need to show up in a particular way, which is why I would have read off that script, because I'm like, oh, I've got to say it the right way, or I've got to look a particular way, like trying to show up, almost wearing like a mask of like, this is me. Whereas now I'm like, this is me. And yeah, sometimes I'm messy, sometimes I'm chaotic. I love going on tangents. My tangents can often be really insightful. So I just own that. And the more I've gone through this personal development journey, particularly the deep embodiment work and the somatic work, the more I've just been able to show up authentically and own who I am and own my voice. And really just, it's been a complete transformation. Like I said, first episode, I was reading off a script, I'm pretty sure. And now I'm just riffing, and I've already lost my train of thought multiple times, but we're rolling with it. So that's a real testament to immersing yourself in personal development. But another thing I actually want to say is we can get so caught up in the personal development or in the mindset work, let's say, as one example, or maybe it's the energetic work, but let's say mindset work as an example, and we become like shadow hunters. We're like, I've got to find my shadow and love on that part of me, or find that blind spot so that I can change this pattern or change this conditioning. And we can get so caught up in personal development that then we're not taking the action. So then it's not actually fully having that like holistic change in our life. Like we might be so self-aware and so on top of the different shadows and things, but one of those patterns or shadows might be that we're actually running away from taking the action. So another tangent that I'm going to take this on here, because I feel like it's really relevant, is we've got different elements of what makes us successful. And I'm going to use business as an example here. So when it comes to business and creating an online business or a personal brand and showing up online and offering our services and being successful nutritionists or natural health professionals, there are different elements of what is going on behind the scenes. So there is the strategy. Strategy is important. You need to have an offering or multiple offerings, and you need to have a strategy for how you're getting it out there to the world. So that includes things like sales and marketing, product creation, content creation, all of that kind of stuff is under the strategy. It's like, what are we actually doing in our business? Like, what is our business strategy? Then we have the mindset. So it's one thing to have an awesome product and an awesome marketing strategy, but if our mindset is holding us back because we have a belief that it's not safe to be seen, or it's not safe to put ourselves out there, or we've got like scarcity blocks and we need to work on our money mindset, or there's just something going on there where we can't actually take the action and implement the strategy, or we're finding it really hard to implement the strategy because there are these like mindset blocks. So we need to have both of those covered. We've got to have the strategy, but also be aware of our mindset. And then there's another piece of the puzzle. So it's the energetics. And the energetics, so everything is energy, right? Quantum physics tells us that. And I'm all about like manifestation and different manifestation tools and all of that kind of stuff. I can geek out on like quantum and the laws of the universe and all of that kind of stuff. So that's another element. And that's one side of it, like the everything is energy, kind of energetics, quantum stuff. But then there's also the energetics from the perspective of what do we have the space to hold? So if we are fully like suppressing all this emotion, or have all this stored trauma that we haven't worked through, or there's just like all of this stuff alive in our body, and this baggage we're carrying around through life because we haven't properly been taught how to feel and express our feelings and release the trauma or release the emotions, then we're just carrying all of that. And it's like this heavy weight, this massive backpack with all of these things in the backpack, all of these rocks that we're dragging around. And therefore we don't have the space or the energetic capacity, or we're not that frequency that becomes that vibrational match for the business, the success, the clients that we want to call in, right? So we need all three of these pieces. And how I got onto this was because we can get so fixated on personal development itself and doing the inner work, or learning more things and continuing to add to our toolkit, that we're not doing the other two phases or stages. So maybe we're so fixated in mindset that we're not taking the action, or maybe we're so fixated in mindset that we're not actually feeling what's going on or what's alive, or releasing some of that stored trauma or stored emotion that's been suppressed. So it's really like a energetic, strategic, and mindset game when it comes to business. And that can be applied in all areas. That even comes to life. Yeah, but I'm going to use it in the context of business because this is like a career podcast. And obviously I'm speaking specifically to business, but same goes for career. Like if we are just carrying around all of this baggage, it's harder to call in that dream job or call in more money or a promotion. Or if our mindset doesn't align up for it, maybe we don't believe that we're worthy of that promotion or we're worthy of that dream job, or like, you know what I mean? Like our beliefs are everything. Our beliefs create our reality. So working on a belief and an identity level is going to be a huge game changer and shift things. But we also need to make sure that we have the energetic capacity and we're taking the action, because I'm all for the law of attraction, love it. But we also have to remember the other laws, like the law of action, the law of compensation, the law of cycles. There's so many other laws. But essentially what I'm getting at there is we can't just personal development our way to success or like visualize our way to success. We also have to have the action attributed to it, the right aligned action, not the like busyness of like, because again, that can be a block where we just feel like we have to do all this busy work or work so hard to succeed when it doesn't have to be that way. So that's kind of like a little success model. Strategy, energetics, and mindset, huge pieces of business success, career success, life success, all the good things. So where was I going with that? Yeah, not getting wrapped up in just learning more about yourself or just building the self-awareness, but also making sure we're integrating the action and being out there living our life as well. So that's something I've also learned through like really going on this journey and being coached and becoming a coach and a mentor, is it's not just about doing all the inner work or taking life so seriously. Life gets to be so fun and we get to go out there and play like and reap the rewards of what we've created for ourselves. So yeah, let's go back to some of the things I've done. So I've mentioned the Reiki, the Psych K. I've done like probably more things than I could even recall or remember, or that I'll bore you with on this call. But let's talk about the different types of containers there are in the coaching space as well, and how in varying ways they have changed my life, because that's the theme of this. So there's been obviously like in-person events or training events or modalities that I've learned. Something I really love about in-person events is you're immersed in the energy, and that can be a real game changer, especially when we're given tools to be able to take it away and actually keep implementing it. Some other events can be just like really motivating and inspire you in the moment, but then you're out of it and things just go back to normal. So I love events that actually go really deep with you and are like working on various levels or giving you tools to take away. And then it's obviously our job to implement them. But that's really like, it can be a really transformative experience. Like one example that's coming to mind is I was at it was like a 2-weekend, 2 separate events, but with the same people. So it was with Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos. It's called the Bridge Experience and Extreme Leadership. And all up, it's 5 days. So it's 2 days for the first one, 3 days for the next one. They're really long days. They're really intense. They were some of the most transformative and like just massive things I've ever done. Pushed me so far out of my comfort zone, stretched me so much. It's something I really loved about the way they ran this event is there was probably 70 or 80 of us, and obviously 2 of them as facilitators, but they had like 17 or 18 coaches that were there assigned to us. We were put in small groups of 10, and we each had 2 coaches that were keeping an eye on the 10 of us in a group and giving us feedback throughout the weekend and reflecting things to us and really like helping us individually. So we were learning all this like amazing group content and getting all of our own individual lessons through everything we were doing, and group lessons as well. But then we had coaches reflecting back to us things that we might not have noticed about ourselves, or ways that we were hiding, or ways that we might have been playing small, or different things that we were doing. And they were giving us like honest feedback and things we wouldn't have been able to observe within ourselves, especially while immersed in this container where there's so much going on. So that in itself was so valuable. And this is why I've really loved working with people in coaching, because what I've noticed is the things where I'm just kind of, it's more passive and I'm just learning. And this is personal experience, but I know a lot of other people can relate to this. But where it's like you're just kind of more passive and you're learning more information and adding more tools to the toolkit, but it's just more of that learning, like you're just being talked to, you're being told, rather than like more of that interactive, immersive, experiential kind of setting. Getting like all that knowledge, awesome. But like I said, we have to then go implement it and make sure we're embodying it. Whereas when you're in immersive environments or you have someone there guiding you, whether it's in a small group capacity or a one-on-one capacity, which is obviously the most valuable because like that person's attention is fully on you, they can shine the light on things you might not have known about yourself. So you're actually going to fast track your personal development journey by having someone there reflecting things back to you. So I can go and do let's use shadow work as an example, a shadow work course, and do all the prompts and do it on myself and spend ages trying to find this shadow and shine the light on my shadows and love on my shadows. Or I can have someone kind of like reflect that to me and fast track that and be like, hold on, I'm really noticing this pattern in you. This could be a blind spot that you haven't like really seen in yourself. So that's something I've really noticed about working in like smaller containers or one-on-one particularly, is you've got that person to reflect things back to you and give you that feedback, which can just save you so much time. It's not to say we can't get places by ourselves, but one, it can be more fun having someone in your corner and helping you. And two, it's like, why not make things easier for ourselves and fast track stuff as well, if we have the capabilities to. So there was something I wanted to say about that. Yes. So let's use the example. I can't remember where I heard this or if I heard this or if it's just, yeah. Anyway, I'm just going to explain it. Let's say we're looking at our hand and our hand's out in front of us and we're looking at our palm and we can see the lines in our palm, we can see our fingers, all of that kind of stuff. The closer our hand gets to our face or our eye, we're just bringing it in, you're kind of like zoning in more on particular areas until it gets right up against your eye. And then you can't see it, it's just black. That eye is just like, all I can see is black because my palm is blocking the light. So I can't actually see my hand anymore. I can't see my palm. I can't see the lines on my palm because it's so close to me. And that's kind of an example of when we're trying to do it all alone, there are going to be those blind spots that just we cannot see, even when we try. And sometimes we'll get to them. It'll just take a longer time. But when we've got someone else, they can see our hand still. Like if our hand's in front of our face, they can still see it perfectly. And they're able to reflect that back to us and be like, hey, this is something I've noticed about you. Or this is a pattern, or maybe that's some conditioning that you have, or, oh, there's some beliefs here that are a bit sticky. Maybe we should shift those into more uplifting, empowering, and positive beliefs. They can do that in a way that we can't always do for ourselves. So that's something I've really noticed about the different containers. The more personalized support you have, the more transformative I have found them to be. So like that event I'm using as an example, there was more of that personal element. And yes, there could have been more. It wasn't like one-on-one, but that was still more transformative than an event that I've been to with like 200 people and no personal guidance or experience. It was just more of like that learning. There were some fun activities and it was amazing. It was inspiring. I met some incredible people who I still have as friends, but it was like less transformative in that way. So I find the degree of close proximity and the degree of personalized support in whatever personal development container or coaching container, the more results you're generally going to get. So working in small groups or working one-on-one in particular, that's going to be the closest support and therefore the fastest way to grow, if that's what we're after, and the fastest way to really kind of like see where we need to stretch ourselves or what needs to shift or change for us. And so let's speak more to the one-to-one. So I only more recently, probably like just over a year ago, started working in more of that one-to-one capacity, but in more of like the ongoing way. So throughout my 12 or so years of personal development, I absolutely did have one-on-one sessions for various modalities. So obviously before I did my Reiki training, I went and got Reiki healing and really enjoyed it. That's why I went and studied it. Or actually psych care I jumped straight into. I experienced it. A friend at the time had done the course and she did one balance on me and I was like, what is this? This is phenomenal. I need to learn this. So that one I hadn't actually even had a full session. I'd had like a 10-minute experience. But generally, like I've done various modalities. I've done different like hypnosis, theta healing, like kinesiology, love kinesiology, continue to use that modality. But yeah, so I'd kind of done one-off things here and there. But what I noticed since last year and since I started going back more consistently to the same person or having that closer coaching relationship or mentorship relationship, it was able to bring about so much transformation. Not to say all those other one-off sessions weren't amazing. They were in their own ways. But that ongoing support, there's something really about that. Particularly, there's obviously the accountability part of it as well. Like you've got that person continuing to call you forward, continuing to help keep you like in integrity to your word and what you say you're going to do and help you actually take the action. So I find that like the longer relationships or the consistency of going back has really been the most transformative. So last year, I was also in a mastermind, and that was like a small-ish group mastermind. There were 20 people in there, but then there were also like break-off groups. So we had groups of 3, and every week we met with the person who was running the mastermind, who was actually my boyfriend. He was such an amazing mastermind facilitator. He doesn't run it anymore, but yeah, I loved it. And so we had like break-off groups, and he'd meet with our group of 3, give us our action steps, coach us through things. And then we'd have like the bigger group coaching calls as well. So that was awesome because it was like way more personalized advice and support than I'd ever really got before. And it was ongoing because it was 6 months. And it was like that weekly touch point where there was just like, yeah, constant support, constant accountability, constant growth, constant coaching. And that was a game changer. And then, for example, my kinesiologist, I've been seeing her for a year and a half now, and I see her probably between every fortnight to once a month. So sometimes it's fortnightly, sometimes it's every 3 weeks, sometimes it's once a month. It kind of depends on my schedule, but having like her to just keep going back to and having her have seen my journey and really got to know me and really pick up on things that might be recurring themes, or yeah, she knows me a lot better than if I was just going to another kinesiologist who I'd never met, and I have to go through kind of like that whole introduction phase again. But the beauty of having someone who knows you and sees you deeply is they can reflect those things back to you quicker than someone who's just getting to know you, because they're going to be able to notice the patterns that appear over time. Same with one-on-one coach. So the one-on-one coach I have, there's like that ongoing support and ongoing accountability and ongoing, like, she can see me and call me forward and call me out when I'm like, yeah, if I'm like disappearing, she's like, no, hold on. Like, what's coming up for you? Like, what do we need to work through here? It's just so valuable having someone in your corner, being there, one, as a cheerleader, but also as someone who's going to be like lovingly honest and keep you to your word and help you get to where you want to go and help you face the blocks that come up in between. Like, think about our business journey. I always say, and I know multiple people have said it on the podcast as well, that business is one of the like quickest ways to immerse yourself in personal development. It's like a PhD in personal development. I feel like I've said that on the podcast before. Yeah, because you're literally getting to know so much about yourself in the process of building a business, especially building personal brands like many of us are. You're going to see where we're kind of like holding ourselves back or getting in our own way, or like afraid of being seen or afraid of putting something out there, or depending on how launches go, seeing how we react to or respond rather to the outcome of that. Like, what happens when no one signs up? What happens when multiple people sign up? Like, are we coming from a grounded place? Are we coming from like an anxiously attached place or an insecure place? Like, what does that look like? Do we go avoidant in our business? Like, we can apply the attachment styles, not just to our like romantic relationships, but also in business. So like being able to be immersed in business, and it's such a gift because it does teach us so much about ourselves. And I really believe it's such a gift to build that self-awareness and really know who we are. And this is actually part of my success and part of my growth has been the more I get to know myself, both through my own personal development and like my own work and own inner work, and also having other people support me with it, the more I get to know myself and elements of myself and parts of myself, and the more I learn to love all parts of me and accept all parts of me and take down any walls or shields or barriers and just like work on patterns that aren't helpful and change them to helpful ones, or put in more empowering beliefs. it's such a gift. And the more I've done that, the more I've been able to thrive, because I'm less likely to hold myself back, or I'm more likely to notice when I'm doing that and be able to work through that, and either be able to hold myself through that, or turn to my coaches, or turn to my mentors, or turn to my kinesiologist to get through those things. So business really is like that PhD in personal development, and there's not really any way around it. Particularly the more we grow, the more things are going to come up for us, the more eyes are on us, the more potential negativity that can come our way, or even positivity. Like, how do we handle all those things? Like, there's no escaping personal development if we're in business. And honestly, I do wonder, because I know there would be people with multi-million-dollar companies or billion-dollar companies out there, like some of the huge corporations that are out there. And I have no doubt that those business owners or CEOs and things aren't necessarily on the most conscious path and don't necessarily have that like personal development kind of undertoning. Maybe they're just naturally wired that way. Maybe they do have some element, but they just choose to do different things with it. But it's just like, it baffles me how they have got to that level of success. But also, one thing I've noticed is when we come to business with this more conscious lens, and with this personal development lens and self-awareness and all of that kind of stuff, it's a completely different feeling behind it when we do reach success, because success is different to all of us, right? To me, success is fulfillment. I think I said that back in episode 1. That still stands true. That's still that feeling of feeling really fulfilled. It feels like success to me. So something as simple as jumping on a client call, for me, that feels like the biggest success, because I feel so fulfilled when I'm able to support people through their health, or through their business, and like through the business mentorship, or through my health and that like empowerment coaching that I do through Project Nourish. So jumping on calls with people, that feels so fulfilling. I feel like the biggest success. Whereas then you have those people with huge multi-million-dollar corporations, and inside they're not happy, they're not feeling fulfilled, they're still feeling in lack, they're still feeling in scarcity. So I feel like that's where it differs. Like, if we actually want to really live our happiest life and be our healthier selves, I'm all about happiest and healthier self. And yeah, coming at that from a personal development lens is going to help us get there, because we realize it's not about the external, it's actually about the internal. Like, external success means nothing if we're not actually feeling happy inside. Like, who cares if we have millions of dollars if we're miserable, right? We want to actually feel good. We want to have those beautiful connections in our life. Well, I'll speak for myself. For me, I want to like feel fulfilled and feel happy and content and vibrant. And I know I'm not always going to feel like that, because this is life, and there's ups and downs in life, and that's okay. That's part of it. And part of the journey is learning to love the downtimes too. But like that feeling of like inner peace, groundedness, fulfillment, that would feel better to me than just having like millions of dollars but being miserable, right? Or having beautiful connections, an amazing partner, family around me, beautiful friends. That feels better to me. And yes, the money comes too. The money gets to come too. There's no shame in wanting abundance or wanting money, but money is an amplifier. If we are miserable inside and we have a whole bunch of money, we're just going to feel more miserable, but we're just going to have more money to try and throw at the problem, right? Whereas if we're feeling so lit up and so fulfilled, and then the money comes, then it's going to feel like even more like abundant and fulfilled. And yeah, it's just like we can so often look at money as like, oh, that's the answer to all our problems. But it's like, what do you believe that money is actually going to give you? And yes, we all get to have money. Like, I honestly believe, as much as people throw around like the industry is oversaturated, or there's too many people out there, or times are hard, there's not much money out there, all of that kind of scarcity stuff, I get it. But also, the world has never been unhealthier. And I honestly believe we can all have thriving multi-six-figure businesses if we're out there doing what we love, and yeah, with the aligned people, because there's more than enough. There's 8 billion people in the world. I don't know what the current population is, but I'm just going to claim that it's 8 billion. It's somewhere around that. 8 billion people in the world. Even if there was like, yeah, millions of nutritionists, we've still got millions of clients, right? We've still got like hundreds of thousands of clients, people that really need us. So when we like zoom out and look at it that way, it can feel restricting or like saturated or difficult, but it doesn't have to be that way. And this is part of where like the mindsets and the energetic work comes in, and really just feeling into how it gets to be easy and we get to all be abundant and there's space for all of us. And it's more about collaboration than competition because we all get to have thriving, abundant businesses. Anyway, that was another tangent. Where was I going with this? So yeah, I've completely lost my train of thought now. But what I was saying, so I spoke a bit to the difference between the different type of coaching containers, and where I've seen the most transformation, where I've seen the most fast-tracked results, and how I've noticed the more I've grown and the more I've done this work and the more I've loved and owned and accepted all parts of me without feeling the need to hide, the more that's led to more of my success, more of my growth. It's easier to show up. Like, it's so much easier today for me to have just put on my Zoom, recorded this video and this audio, and recorded this podcast than if in the past I would have written out a whole script of what I was going to say. Like, so much easier when we just have that kind of freedom and trust in ourselves. Like, building self-trust is a huge part of business success, and life, like really life as well. Like, if we don't trust ourselves, it makes life so much harder. So like increasing that self-trust, increasing that self-worth, knowing that what I have to say is of value, because that's another thing that we might be like, oh, maybe people already know this, or maybe they've already heard this, but it lands differently the way that we say it. And with the right people, it will land the way it needs to land. And something we could say could completely change the trajectory of someone's life. So not putting it out there could actually be a disservice. And yeah, people are missing out on hearing what we have to say in the way that they need to hear it. So just giving ourselves permission and knowing that we are of value. And sure, there's going to be people who don't think I'm of value and they're not my people, and that's okay. But if I don't put myself out there because I'm afraid that those people won't like me, then all of the people that do benefit from me, so all of you beautiful listeners, wouldn't get this experience, right? So yeah, it can be so difficult to navigate business by ourselves sometimes as well. And like, even speaking to this, even speaking through like having to work through those kinds of blocks. Like, for example, imagine if I had have never put out Nutrition Grad Guide. I would, yeah, it would be super sad because I love Nutrition Grad Guide and it's such a passion of mine. But imagine like the tens of thousands of listens that have occurred on this podcast and the thousands of you that I've reached. You never would have heard this. You never would have heard your favorite episode of Nutrition Grad Guide, or like you wouldn't have heard from someone that inspired you or seen that you could do something different to what we were taught at uni. And sure, you might have been able to learn it from someone else because there's amazing other people doing this sort of thing too. And I love that because we need multiple of us because we're going to reach different people. We're going to appeal to different people. And that's exactly why we need so many nutritionists, because we're all going to appeal to different people and different people need us. So yeah, again, I feel like I'm going on a motivational spiel, but it can feel hard to break through those blocks. So going back to that example of what I was saying, let's say I never released Nutrition Grad Guide and this was never here, but let's pretend I actually, so we're in that reality, never launched Nutrition Grad Guide because I was afraid of it. And I was like, oh no, what will happen? Like, I'm too nervous to speak on audio. It wasn't even camera at the time. I won't do it. So we're playing in that reality for a minute. It's a reality that I'm glad isn't the true reality, but bear with me for a moment. So let's pretend that was my story at the time in 2020 when I was ready to release this. But let's pretend also I had a coach and I was talking to my coach and about this idea, but I was just saying like, you know what, no, I just don't feel ready. I'm going to wait a few years and just build up my confidence a bit more, and then it'll be fine. And that coach calls me out and is like, but are you going to build up that confidence quicker if you actually just do the thing and you put the podcast out there, do the thing that scares you, right? Feel the fear, do it anyway. Like, you can grow quicker. How would it feel to just try, just record one episode and see what that feels like? And maybe we can put it out into the world next week. But for now, just record that episode and see how that feels. And just like play in that reality where Nutrition Grad Guide is out there in the world and people are listening. I like this, coach. I love this like complete false scenario I've made up in my head, but that's an example of how having someone in your corner can get you out of your own way and help you achieve the things quicker than you may have achieved them alone. And thankfully, in my case, I didn't get in my head and get scared about releasing Nutrition Grad Guide. And it did take me a few months to get it out there after I had the idea. Probably was some resistance, but I still managed to work through that and get it out there. But what I'm getting at from that completely made up reality is that having that person there in your corner can be so beneficial, because you've got that person being like, actually, you can do it. And like, let's just give it a go. Like, and they cheer you on, they're there for you, they call you out, call you forward, like so much value in all of that. And that's why I personally love being coached, because you have that person that, even if it's just as a sounding board, sometimes you just need someone to sound ideas off. Or let's talk about overwhelm for a minute. Overwhelm is basically, it's a protection strategy and a survival strategy. And I'm not going to go into all that, but essentially when we're overwhelm's like the easy way out, because it's like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to go do this other thing for now, and I'll come back to it when I've got the space. It can be a real cop-out, to be blunt, because it's like getting in our way of doing it. It's a form of self-sabotage, but it's so easy to play into that. And there have been so many times where I've played into overwhelm and been like, no, I've just got too many ideas, I'm not going to do any of them. And that doesn't serve me, and it doesn't serve the people that I'm trying to show up and serve either. So when it comes to even something like working through overwhelm, having that person to be like, okay, let's talk about these ideas, let's get them all out, what are they? And then actually just be like, cool, let's put these aside for future projects and future fun things. These ones we could actually combine into one thing. Let's just focus on this one thing for now. And they can help cut through all the overwhelm, help you get that clarity, and work with just like that one idea. And that's actually something that's kind of where my clarity and strategy sessions came from that I offer, the 90-minute sessions, because I really just wanted to help people have that solid foundation and have that focus and that clarity so that you're not getting stuck in overwhelm, because I've been there and it's not fun. So yeah, there's so many different ways that I'm so grateful that I got into like the coaching world, and I've gone on to do different coaching programs and learn from different coaches and learn all kinds of other modalities, a few of which I shared examples of earlier, because it's helped me get to where I am. And now, like, I reckon I'm trying to think of when I started coaching other people in like the business and mindset space, because I've obviously been doing like nutrition and health coaching for ages, and that's kind of like morphed into mindset coaching, and then morphed into like more of the emotional work as well. And like, yeah, really working on multiple layers. So I've been doing that since years as well, because Project Nourish has been around for a while now. Let's say that's been 6-7 years that I've been doing it in like the holistic health. I'm going to call it holistic because it's got the different layers. And I'm a very holistic nutritionist, a very holistic approach to health, but you get what I'm saying. But then even the business coaching and mentorship, I reckon I originally started it maybe like, it was definitely pre-pandemic. It would have been like easy 5 years ago as well. Yeah, like 5 or so years ago. So it's been something I've kind of done behind the scenes for people who've reached out or people who found it on my website, never really advertised it, only ever had like a handful of clients at a time, like kept it really small. And I'm still only going to keep a handful of clients at a time, because I've obviously got my other business that I'm running and have various programs or one-on-one clients for that. So I don't have a huge capacity, but I did want to open up more spots to work with people with the business and mindset coaching, because we need more of us out there making that impact and making bank as well while we do it. And I know how beneficial it's been for me. So I really want to pay that forward and be able to support other people on their journey, because it's honestly so rewarding. So yes, it's for you and to support you and guide you, but it's also because it's so fulfilling for me and I just love doing it. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring it back. And it was part of the relaunch of Nutrition Grad Guide. So we've been back for quite a few weeks now. I reckon it's over a month. I'm going to say, if I had to guess, about 6 weeks that we've been back in action and doing more regular episodes. But I actually was going to put it out originally when I launched, and then I ended up filling my spots. And Yeah, it was awesome. I was like, cool, I didn't even have to speak about it. They just kind of like organically filled with people that just found me behind the scenes or through my website. And I love them and I'm having the best time working with them. And I have space for a few more. So I've opened up my books for a few more business and mindset mentorship clients. So if you are interested in having more of that one-to-one personalized support and getting some of the benefits that I've spoken to in this episode and the many tangents that I've been on, but if you're interested in having that more personalized support, please do feel free to reach out to me or head to the website. There are a few different ways you can work with me. So we've got the 90-minute clarity and strategy call. So this is really good for anyone who's either in the initial phases of business and trying to figure out that solid foundation and like a way forward and a plan, or for people who are kind of like at a crossroads in their business and just want to figure out where to go from there, or someone who just wants 90 minutes of my focused attention and time to really help you build out your business or scale your business. So there's different levels that can appeal to. There's also the one-to-one coaching containers. So I've put that up for, there's either a 1-month option if you just want a taster, or a 3-month option. I normally only offer 3 months or more because I see the value in that longer term. In saying that, 3 months isn't actually that long term, but it's a good amount of time to really get to know someone or start to get to know someone really well and figure out the groove and the flow and exactly what they need, because every person needs kind of a different approach and different coaching. And that's what I love about the coaching that I do. It's so like intuitive in terms of like based on what that particular person needs and how they thrive. So I'm really attuned to the individual needs of the people that I do coach in that capacity. So yeah, there's a 1-month option or a 3-month option for that one. And there's info about that on my website. You can apply there also. I'm going to pop the links to these actually in the show notes as well, so easier to find. So yeah, there's the 90-minute clarity and strategy session. There's the coaching containers. There's limited spots for those. So highly recommend if it's something you're thinking about, and depending when you're listening to this episode as well. But I'll only ever be taking on like a handful of clients for that one. And then there's also a confidence boost, which is something I added in because I love this from the perspective of it's just going straight to the subconscious work. It's going straight to the mindset. It's less about the strategy. It's less about that, but it's more about like those beliefs and like working on the subconscious level. So I use tools like Psych-K, like NER, like hypnosis, whatever's necessary in those moments to really go in deep and just shift your beliefs and really empower you. And therefore it gives you that confidence boost. Like I was saying, the more that I've done this work, the more confident I've become, the more magnetic I've become, the more I've been able to just be authentically me and show up as me. And therefore it's easier to show up. So it's kind of like a mini dose of that. So 60 minutes dedicated to like subconscious reprogramming, tailored to what you need and tailored to your current beliefs and what needs shifting. So that's a fun new little offering I've got as well. So that's kind of like where I'm at with my coaching and releasing coaching. And I honestly do believe that good coaches need coaches too. So I continue to get my own coaching. But like I said, I love being able to do this work as well and have seen such phenomenal results in my clients, both in their personal growth and who they become throughout the process, but also in their businesses. Yeah, it's the most rewarding thing. I freaking love it. So I reckon that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. And thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. As always, I am so grateful for each and every one of you. If you ever feel like reaching out as well, I love it when you guys reach out to me and tell me what you took away from episodes, or just like sharing any feedback or sharing episodes on your stories. Like I love seeing you, listening and interacting with you and getting to know you as well, because this is like part of what I wanted through Nutrition Grad Guide, to build that beautiful community and meet awesome people, which I'm so grateful for all of you. And love it when you say hey as well. I'm going to leave it there. Have a beautiful week. Keep going after your dreams. You are so worthy and deserving. If you haven't listened to the last episode with my boyfriend, Ryan, I'm going to repeat one of the things he said at the end. If you have a dream, it means it is possible for you. So don't feel like you've got this dream and you can't achieve it, or you don't have what it takes. Like, if you had that dream or had that idea and it's a genuine heart's desire, it is meant for you. So keep going. It will happen. Whether you do it alone or with someone by your side, it's going to happen. You will get there. And yeah, I'm excited for you on that journey. Have a beautiful day or night or whenever you're listening, and I will be back in your ears next week.